All right. Well, welcome, Sherry. It's good to see you today. I would love to start by just having you state your name and then where you're from.
Sure. Sherry Gentry from Marietta, Georgia, which is just outside Atlanta.
Awesome. So let's begin by talking a little bit about what you have done as a career. I know that you've moved into more of a retirement phase at this point, but I would love to hear what you've spent the last 20, 30 years doing.
Yeah, so I've worked for 38 years at a regional bank in the Southeast and had a variety of roles over the years. A third of my career was client facing and managing sales and sales teams. A third was spent on coaching and helping grow the sales areas. And the last third was really project management and managing project teams to complete strategic projects in the bank.
That's a lot. Sounds
Yep,
like a
and the
lot of things
last
to
big
manage.
project, the last big project was when our bank merged with another bank. So I had to manage project management teams to consolidate computer systems to get us operating as one, consistent bank.
Oh my gosh. Sounds like a stressful way to
It was
end,
very
but
It
now
was
it's
very
fun.
stressful, but it was a nice way to sort of tie a bow on a career that at a company that I, you know, thought a lot of, spent my whole career there, and could add and help the company up to the end, and then had a good point to which to start my retirement.
Yeah. Well, what a great way to finish and exciting times ahead, I'm sure. So you mentioned stress as part of your 38 career, doing all of those things, wearing all those hats. What else was going on with your health specifically before you found Tiger Performance?
Yeah, I all along my whole career it had been a fairly stressful, career. I had a lot of responsibilities, even though they were doing different things.
Mhm.
My husband and I also raised two children. My husband's self-employed and has his own business, and I think just the normal, weight of all those years and not taking great care of yourself, taking care of others before you're taking care of yourself.
Mm.
So I think that just added little by little to I guess in addition to the work stress.
Yeah. And it sounds like others are very important to you.
Yep.
Did you notice any specific ways that the stress would manifest itself?
I'd say over the years, I gained weight.
Mm.
And then I also became more sedentary in the roles that I had at work. And so I would spend more time sitting or, and not as much time up and about and moving. And then really, again, when I did things for other folks, I was during that time not really taking great care of myself, not exercising, just really didn't have the time or capacity to
Yeah.
take care of myself through most of those years.
Right, right. And so you mentioned not having a whole lot of time. So was there anything specifically that you were trying or that you were working on prior to Tiger Medical?
I think really I just was doing my best just to handle it all myself internally, and I could handle a great deal of stress and just internally do that. So I really didn't take the time or the effort to do anything to take care of myself
Okay.
beyond normal, vacations and a periodic walk, but nothing consistently.
Okay. So kind of transitioning now into working with Tiger Medical, I'd love to hear the process of how you found us and how you started working with us.
Yeah, so Steve Adams came to a meeting that my husband and I were attending for other owners of small law firms. And he talked a lot about how the stress had personally impacted him and his life and his career. And I was in the real trenches of bank conversions and managing a lot of moving parts, a lot of stress, a lot of responsibility. And just hearing him talk spoke to me. I felt like he just pulled this out of out of my experience in my life. And I just thought he knew exactly what I had experienced over those years and was experiencing then.
Mm.
And instantly thought, I need to make sure that I don't um, go downhill, or don't push my body farther than it can go. That this is the time, if I'm ever going to take care of myself, I've got to figure out how to learn to do that. So it was really his personal story that shared when he shared that.
Yeah, yeah, and it sounded like that personal story resonated with you very well. You were excited. Did you have any fears or doubts about the program prior to starting?
I think we just wanted to make sure that I would be sort of all in,
Mm.
because if I'm going to invest in myself at that point and invest at a point that while I wasn't going to be carrying that stress on my life forever, I think I had to think, well, okay, is this worth the investment of doing that? And the reason I thought it was is because I didn't want to come to my retirement, have the next day, and then just have not be prepared and have my body, in a sense, just fall apart, or just be exhausted, and then have a retirement that wasn't, valuable, spend it being ill, spend it, so I didn't want to make it all the way to retirement like that was the finish line. And then my health couldn't let me enjoy the retirement from here on out, because I'm very fortunate, lucky to be able to have been able to take an early retirement. I didn't want to turn around and then have illness or physical problems, or the results of all those years of accumulated stress
Mm.
weigh me down and make my retirement years not as valuable and fruitful as I would have liked them to be.
Yeah. So it seems like the word that would be better to use here instead of fear and doubt would be maybe what the focus was. And the focus
That's right.
was retiring well and moving into that season of life well. Was there anything specific, whether it was that day listening to Steve or in another instance where you felt like that um, focus was really validated by our team?
I think in the early days, one of the first things when we got our Aura rings and started having conversations with Dr. Matt and with the first coach we had, and looking at the results and seeing, when you do something, seeing the difference it can make in a short term, I think that was very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's always nice to have data that backs up the things that you've been thinking or feeling and be able to put those two together.
That's right. And see if you have a day or a week that is, at that point I was still working busier or more stressful, that I had to take some different actions, do some more, breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, do some other things to keep the stress level down, as opposed to just deal with it internally and, build ulcers or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so I really see, I think having the Aura ring at the beginning and starting to see how little actions could make a difference.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Little actions making a big difference. What would you say was the first big wow you experienced as part of our program?
It really comes with a lot of the blood work and the results, the medical results we had. My husband and I have a concierge physician, so we've got very good health care. But the blood work and the diagnostic work that was done was a much more personalized level. And for many years, I'd had stomach problems, and I really thought it was stress or ulcers, or just the result of the a stressful work and environment for many years. And as it turns out, I've got a sensitivity to egg. And finding that out, and then not only having some supplements I can take, but then dropping that from my diet, made a dramatic improvement in my life. And if I'd tried to try different foods here and there, I don't know that I ever would have tried egg. But the fact that we had the diagnostic tests and they were so thorough, that when we narrowed it down to the couple things that I did have a sensitivity to, and gave that up, that it made a dramatic difference, because I typically, for lunch would have, chicken salad sandwich. So it had mayonnaise and had eggs. If I had leftovers, I would turn them into a quiche and eat that for lunch a couple days after. And so, eggs can be very healthy for most people. And it was something that I ate a lot of, and I never would have put two and two together. So having the medical tests backing that up, and then once we had, the test said this looks like a high sensitivity, taking out the diet really had made a vast improvement in my life.
Absolutely.
Just by giving up the eggs, I lost 20 pounds with
Wow.
doing nothing else.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it was just amazing. And, stopped the gastro issues that I'd had for, really decades.
Incredible. So kind of tying in the value of the data that you get from the Oura Ring with the value of the information gained through testing, and being able to pair those two things together to not just have the information, but then have the necessary tools to begin living the lifestyle, which promoted that. Really cool.
Exactly. And then once having, not had, gastro pain and starting to lose that weight, that enabled me to start an exercise program. And literally in my life, I have never exercised beyond periodically taking a walk. And so in the last fall, I started doing Pilates. And I had read an article in the New York Times that said anyone at any age can do Pilates. You could start when you're 85. I thought, well, I just turned 60. I can probably do this.
Yeah.
And started that, but I would not really have been able to take that step, had I not started with some weight loss and feeling better physically, that I, wanted to go out and then could physically do that. And that, you put that together, I was able to take it to, again, work on sort of improving my life in retirement.
Yeah. And having the information, pairing that with one small habit, sounded like it had more of a snowball effect for you, and that's really led to some great things.
That's right. That's right.
So let's talk a little bit about before the program again. If you could, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 represents your best picture for yourself in retirement and 1 is the opposite, where would you say you were on that scale prior to joining Tiger's program?
Prior, and I was still working, but I was really worried. I was probably at a 1 or 2. I didn't have serious health problems, but I wasn't in great shape to take care of, I guess to really, I don't want to say take care of myself, but I was not in great shape just because the sedentary life that I had, done through work. So I was healthy. I had good health care, but I didn't feel great. And so I thought, I need to be able to feel great because I'm not that old.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I've told you before that I feel like in the last year, I feel a year younger. Pulling all of that together, I feel better than I probably have in several years because of all the pieces together.
So if you could put a number on that using the same scale from where you felt at the beginning at a 1 or a 2 to where you are now feeling younger than you did when you started, what might that number be?
Oh yeah, I've gone to an 8 or 9. Many days it's a 10. It's a, you still feel your age, but I don't think of myself as old now. And I was feeling old before. And now even the fact that I'm a year older, I don't feel old anymore. So that's, I think that's a win.
That is absolutely a win, and that's so powerful as well. So talking about not feeling old, feeling a year younger, on a day-to-day basis, what does that look like for you?
I am out and physically moving a lot more. I practice bonsai, small trees in pots. and it's an art and it's horticulture, but I'm able to move and lift the trees easily by myself. I'm able to spend most of the day outside, doing some physical activity as opposed to sitting still at my desk, here, working on something. And I find that if I'm working on the computer and doing something, if I've been there an hour or two, I feel like now I've got to get up and move. Whereas before, I could have sat here solid for 6, 8, 10 hours with very
Wow.
few breaks and just powered through the work.
Mhm.
And now, like my body, and I can listen to it, I need to get up and get moving, even if it's a rainy day and I'm just moving around the house or just working in the yard. So I think that's a pretty big change.
It is. And it sounds like you said listening to your body. So you've developed this mindfulness around what it means for you to be healthy. And that's a big deal.
That's right. That's right.
So as we start to close our time here today, I would love to just hear maybe one or two ways that you have found a way to celebrate the successes you've had.
I would say that my husband and I travel. He has to, his with business, we travel for meetings. I would say that we're enjoying that travel, and try to tie on extra personal days or vacation days or to do some things for ourselves.
Yeah.
I think there's just a great deal of joy. I volunteer. I'm on a foundation board. When I worked, my personal motto was joy of building, pride of creation. And I still feel like I'm helping build things in the community. So I think the fact that I can do it and I don't feel like it's taking a toll on me. I mean, there's joy in that.
Mm.
So I don't know if that's really a celebration, but that I can continue doing this, and the my body is not keeping me from doing some of those things in the community that I want to do, while I still have vigor and while I'm still, and now I have a lot more time in order to devote to volunteerism, to church. We can travel without the stress of having to, work every step along the way with travel. So um, I think that's just about you know, still having a purpose in your life, but making sure that you're taking well enough care of yourself so that you can achieve your personal purpose.
Absolutely. And joy is one of the best ways to
Mhm.
celebrate a success. So, kind of to tie a bow on this, when we started our conversation today, you talked about how there was a fear prior to joining, or a doubt that you would be able to retire well, that you wouldn't necessarily have the health or the energy to do the things that you love to do. And everything that you just said is such a wonderful testimony of how you've gone through this process and committed to it. And now you're living with joy in retirement, and you're enjoying vacations with your husband. You're working on small projects that you're passionate about. You're spending more time in church and in the community. And that's a wonderful thing.
It really is. And what I originally was afraid of, it reminded me when I was in school, we would have 6 weeks of classes and then tests, and you'd have a couple days out off. And even as young as like high school, I would push and push and push, take the test, and then I would become ill and sick after because I pushed so hard and my body didn't have the reserves. And I was worried about that happening when I retired and I was 60. And then also, my mother only lived till her early 60s. And
Wow.
so, for a long time, I had as almost a life goal to, I need to live longer than my mother did. And so, making sure that I had a plan for how to take care of myself and enjoy those years and not just work, 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 and then become ill or become sick, and or at sort of fall off the edge at retirement because I just given it my all. I still gave it my all through my whole career, but now there's something left that I can continue, giving and enjoying in retirement.
What an exciting message. That is so cool.
Thanks.
So as we close today, is there anything that you would like to say to someone who might be watching this, that's thinking about potentially working with Tiger?
Yeah, I think look closely, make sure you go all in, like anything else in life, that you get out of it what you put into it. Um, and just if you think, well, I already have a concierge physician, which we already had one, this is just a closer level of personalized analysis of your health and your lifestyle. And, that extra information, looking at your DNA, looking at your particular deeper blood work or blood tests and getting the data to make decisions, it was well worth it. But make sure you're all in and take advantage of it while you're doing it. Um, so I think that's really the best I know advice I can give to anyone.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's been an absolute joy to work with you and your husband for this past year. We appreciate all the things that you've contributed to us, as well as what we've been able to work on with you. So thank you so much for that. And also thank you for taking the time today to share.
Glad to help. Glad to do it.
All right.